you need to make a slip knot. So what I do is I take the yarn, wrap it around 2 fingers, so wrap, and then take the part that you just wrapped, shove it up between your fingers and that piece of yarn that was wrapped, and pull it tight. Then take your needle and put it through the knot, and then tighten that up. Now, to make your starting row, take the string, put it in between your pinky and ring finger, wrap around your thumb, so in between your pinky and then around your thumb. Take the needle from the underside and come up, slip it off of your thumb, and now you have 2 stitches. You're going to do the same thing again, in between your pinky and ring finger, around your thumb, up from the underside, slip your thumb out. You're going to do that for as many stitches as you need. I'm just going to do 17 stitches. I'll show you why I'm going to do 17 instead of an even number. Okay, so and then count just to make sure that you have what you're supposed to have. Okay. And then once you have that, switch your needle over to your left hand and have your string facing downward. Take your other needle, take your first stitch, and put your needle through the underside and up. So, once again, go through the underside and up behind it. Take your yarn, wrap it around your back needle so it's going in between them, and then you're going to slip that stitch off of your one needle and over it. So do the same thing again, so under and behind, bring the string around in between your needles. Make sure you don't lose that yarn when you slip your needle out. So down, slip it off. And try not to make it too tight, because the tighter you make it, the harder it is to work with. And so you'll just do that all the way across. And make sure you're getting all the thread of the yarn, because otherwise it'll just create problems. I'm trying to keep this semi-slow, that way you can still follow. And you'll do that all the way to the end. And so, at this point, I have that. So once again, your yarn will be facing downward, and everything that you've made so far will be facing downward. And do the same thing again. Go in between. You see this right here. Make sure you're going in between that and the needle. And up behind. Okay, now if you want to do the purl stitch, it's not very different from just regular knitting. In order to do like a seed stitch pattern, that involves going back and forth between knitting and purling. So I'm going to start out with just the regular stitch. So now to switch over to a purl stitch, instead of my yarn being on this side, I need to bring it around so it's on the front side of it instead of behind. So bring it around, and then instead of going from underneath, you're going to go down and be in front. And then bring your string around that needle again and do the same thing. It's just backwards. So I'll go ahead and do this row in purls, and then I'll show you the seed stitch. I mean, it's just going back and forth between knitting and purling. But this again is going to be a purl stitch. So just from above down, and bring your string around the needle. That simple. And just move your stuff around to the bottom side. And you can see right here on the bottom that I was a lot looser right there. When I started out, that's why it sticks out. So you have to, I mean, it just takes practice trying to get it to all look the same. But you can see the difference between where I was knitting and purling, how it changes. Now, to make it where like half the stitches like stick up, the seed stitch pattern, you just go back and forth between knitting and purling. So I'm going to do a knit stitch here first. Bring your string around to the front side to do your purl, and go from the top down and through. Now to go back to your regular stitch, push your string back around to the back and then go from underneath. And then you're going to go back. Always remember to move that string around, otherwise it does not turn out the way it's supposed to. It took me a long time to figure out how to do the purl stitch. I thought it was a lot harder than it needed to be, or it was, but it's really simple, actually. See, when I first started, I was not moving the string. That was the problem with it, and it just turned it into like a huge knotted mess. But the reason I did odd number of stitches, is because with that seed stitch, in order for it to turn out the way it's supposed to, you need to have an odd number. So you start out knit, purl, and go all the way across. And then the next row, since I started with a knit stitch on that row, I would start with a purl. Now to start a row with a purl, take your needle, so your string is in front of you, and go down from the top, and do the same thing. So you'll just go back and forth like that across that row, and yeah. Like I said, it takes practice, but I find knitting a lot easier than crocheting for some reason. My grandma, she was the one that taught me and ended up teaching me how to do purling, and I don't know, I find this so much easier than crocheting. I get frustrated with crocheting very easy. Kind of like how you're frustrated with this at the moment. I think I just messed that last one up. I wasn't paying attention there at the end. Since I started with a purl, I should have ended with a knit stitch, and I did not on that, I don't think. But anyways, you get the gist of what you're supposed to do there. So yeah, you'll get something like that if you start doing every other. Now, this where it kind of feeds into it is just because I did a row of purling and then I did the seed stitch rows, where it kind of just looks like it weaves into it. So you just play around with it and you'll get different designs. You can look stuff up on the internet. There's plenty of designs out there. So hopefully that helps. If not, let me know and I can try to explain better. Alright? Bye-bye.